Hello, welcome to Spotlight, illuminating a world of artistic gems.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we finally catch up with the new bard, a busy woman already. Hear about the Festival of Choirs back this autumn, bigger and better than ever. And the Merchant of Venice takes not so much to the stage as the garden. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you may be involved in, planning, hoping to create, or would really like to put in the spotlight. Poetic, visual, theatrical, musical, literary, mime, ceramics, da-di-da-di-da-di-da, you know it. Spotlight, manxradio.com, Howard Kane at manxradio.com. Either will work. Whilst I remember, love is in the air. No, not just me getting romantic, I know. But the name of what promises to be a wonderful evening of music featuring soprano Christine Sutcliffe and Olga Eggert at the piano, both well known on the island scene. Of course, Christine teaches singing privately and also at King Bill's, co-director of Stage Door Entertainment. Olga has worked as a professional pianist around the world, currently teaches piano on the Isle of Man, and also you can find her playing organ at St Andrew's Church. They're performing an evening of beautiful duets by Chopin, Mozart, Rossini and Porter, Cole Porter I assume. It's at the Erin Arts Centre, September the 10th, 7:30. Tickets available from the EAC website. Check it out, sounds a great night. Now, the new Manx Bard was crowned a couple of weekends back. Boaksy, the 9th poet to take on the prestigious position. We were hoping to bring you a chat with her last week here on Spotlight, but due to, as they say, circumstances beyond my meagre control, that couldn't happen. But without further ado, a week late, here she is. And here we are, catching up at last with the new bard for the forthcoming year, who, as we have heard on Mike's Radio and as we mentioned last week on Spotlight, is Boaksy. But we've had at last a chance to catch up, so has it sunk in now?
Just about. I still wake up in the morning and it's only the fact that I've got the bardic robes hanging up in the hallway and I think, oh, it is real. But I'm absolutely thrilled to bits. And, as I said at the time, I didn't expect to win, but I am so honoured to be the 9th bard for the Isle of Man.
So what are you hoping to do? Because I know one of the things within the bardic role is you're also asked, OK, if you were the bard, and of course you are now the bard, what would you like to do during your bardic year?
Well, one of the things I really want to do is promote poetry and get the message across that it's not an elitist activity. Poetry is for absolutely everybody. So I'm hoping to do some events all over the island and get this message across, get every person involved, as many as I can, and show them how wonderful and the power of words.
And of course, as we're speaking now, you're actually off to one of your first gigs in your new role, I think.
I am indeed, yes, which is a bit daunting in some ways, but at the same time I'm really looking forward to the experience and to meeting fellow poets, that some of which I've never met before, and hearing their work as well as performing my own.
And that's quite interesting you say that, because it's true, isn't it, with poetry? And I sort of found over the years, you sort of chat away to people who, you might have known for years, and you might mention, I'm going to the Slam or I'm going to whatever, and they say, well, I write a bit of poetry. And you think, really? I've known you for 20 years. I didn't know you wrote poetry.
Absolutely, yes. And sometimes, it's in a way the most unexpected people, I used to be a school teacher and I knew quite a few teachers who wrote poetry, and there's nothing unusual about that. But I was talking to a fellow who's a gardener, and he says, I write poetry, and a postman who writes poetry, and various other things. So it goes to show that poetry is for everyone. It's not just the people in their ivory towers of academia. It's accessible to every single person, as it should be.
And where are you on your sort of poetry journey then? Is it something that's been with you since you were a little girl, something you've come to much later in life?
A bit of both. I used to write an awful lot of poetry when I was a younger girl, and then after getting married and having my own family and going into teaching, I found myself so busy I didn't even have time to think about poetry. And then in 2018 I became unable to work. I've had a few health scares with strokes and cataracts and one thing and another. And I was looking for something to occupy my time initially, because I'm so used to working, my days were full, and to have that taken away literally overnight came as quite a shock. Anyway, a friend of mine told me about these writing for well-being workshops that were being run by a lady called Janet Lees. And I thought, well, go along and give it a try. And it's the best thing I ever did, because not only did it make me feel better in myself, but it got me writing again. And I now write stories. I'm researching a book based on the Eric Cragene papers. I'm doing a master's degree. And of course, I've got my poetry. So I'm still improving, or I like to think I'm improving. And I don't think there's any such thing as the perfect poet. We're always revising our work, and we're never satisfied, and there's tweak here, and there comes a time we have to say, enough, leave it, go on to the next one.
Yes.
But hopefully each one is a little bit better than the one before, and hopefully people enjoy hearing them or reading them.
And you mentioned there as well something you quite often hear, especially with poetry, sometimes with writing in general, this whole idea of, as you say, of as it is a sort of form of therapy, a form of mental well-being, a sort of cathartic exercise as well. Do you find all that with your writing?
Oh, absolutely, and that's the second aim of my time as the Manx Bard this year. I am going to set up some writing for wellbeing workshops. I've been training, my master's degree is in creative and therapeutic writing, so that means I can offer the power of words to deal with trauma, to deal with general well-being, and to be a help to the community in general.
We'll have a poem, shall we?
Yes, and this is the one that quite a few people have asked if they can see or hear. It's the one I performed at my inauguration, and it's the one that I also had to perform as part of my audition to be the Bard. And it's based on a true story. I know, because I wrote it myself. But yes, certain facts about the king and what happened early on, that is absolutely true, and it comes from research that I've been doing. But following on from that is a little bit of artistic license.
Quite right too.
But I hope you all enjoy it. It's called Manannan's Revenge, and it's the true story of Camog. Back in the time of Sea Kings, Godred Crovan ruled this isle. His men preferred the southern lands and settled there a while. The Celtic Manx was shifted to the northern hills and plains, and so began the rivalry, which to this day remains. To settle disagreements, a Norse Tynwald soon was called, but squabbles still got violent. Poor King Orry was appalled. And so, to stop the fighting, keep it under his control, an annual sporting contest would be held with stick and ball. The North would play against the South St. Stephen's Day each year, on neutral territory, Tynwald's Field to be quite clear. Quite soon, this game, called Camog, became the true Manx fella's quest. Celts against the Norsemen, sure the Celts would be the best. Manannan helped the northern Manx as much as he was able, but Thor turned up to help the south, and soon he turned the tables. Back and forth the action flowed, the competition fierce, sticks and balls are flying, opposition's goal to pierce. Generations passed. You cannot tell who's Norse or Celt. Migration, integration made it really how you felt in choosing sides. In fact, These days it doesn't really matter who or where you're from, because the players simply batter the ball into the nearest goal, and that will be a score, a cheer from Old Manannan, and a groan or two from Thor. Whilst sitting on the Tynwald Hill, invisible to mortals, the other gods take bets on who this year will win the laurels. But Manannan has a secret, known to just a chosen few. I know I'm not supposed to say, but now I'm telling you. Thor may have his hammer, but Manannan's got a cloak, which even in the drizzle has capacity to soak. Should Northern Manx be overcome and the Southies win the game, Manannan makes his feelings known by sending loads of rain. But no, not in the winter time to spoil the Yuletide snow. He waits until the summer. Then he drowns the southern show.
Great stuff. And like Michael and Owen before her, we will be enjoying a poem from Bogsy each month here on Spotlight, and check in with her from time to time to see how her year as bard is going.
Have you seen the well-to-do up and down Park Avenue on the famous thoroughfare?
The Glen Faber Chorale performing at the 2017 Festival of Choirs, and the festival is back this year. Lockdown has caused slight problems, of course. Every other year it normally goes on, but it is here this year, a record entry. To find out more, I spoke to festival director Jeff Corkish and festival coordinator Gary Corkill.
Started in 2010. I was a member of Tynwald with responsibility for tourism, and the thing I'd always had in the back of my mind to do was to set up a choir festival. We didn't call it a choir festival, I called it a festival of choirs, which sounded better because it was a celebration of choirs and those who enjoyed singing in choirs. So we started in 2010 and we held it in the Villa Marina Arcade. We had a good year, good response from visiting choirs and local choirs. We held it every 2 years because it's difficult to sustain every year. So every 2 years, this will be our 7th this year, October, beginning the Friday the 13th. Good day, that shows how positive we are. And Saturday the 14th competition, Sunday competition and finals, culminating in the festival, choir of the festival. So it's been greatly received. It's gone really well. I'm delighted with it. We've got hard workers, Gary Corkill, who's sitting alongside me here, has been absolutely fantastic. He's a wizard on the old computer when I can just about manage to switch it on. So this year we have 19 choirs. We've got 14 choirs coming from across and 5 local choirs. We're great of that support as well.
So it is a terrific number there, Gary. So 19, is that a record number? Is that a record number of entries?
It is. The most we've ever had, I think, is 13 choirs. So we've got 14 visiting choirs, along with 5 local choirs, and 19's the highest entry we've ever had.
We have a gathering day, if you like, on the Friday when choristers arrive from all over the UK to the Isle of Man, either by sea or by air. And I thought it was a good idea, rather than just arrive here and they walk around the Isle of Man, which is we allow them to do that on the Saturday evening. But on the Friday, I thought, why not have a nice welcome evening where they can come in and enjoy something to eat, and have an informal sing-song where they all get to know each other. It breaks down barriers. And from that, we are now told we're known as the Friendly Festival, which stands out amongst other festivals around the UK. So Friday night is our welcome night. It's a lovely, lovely night. Unfortunately, we haven't got room for the public to come in. That's purely for the choirs to get to know each other. Lovely, lovely, lovely night, I have to say. And then on the Saturday, they meet up again, knowing each other, but in competition in mind.
Okay, and I was looking just briefly beforehand. So there's classes, separate classes. There's ladies, there's a male, there's a mixed. What's the open class then? Is that something separate again?
Yes, we introduced this about 2 festivals ago because we actually had a number of barbershop choirs who entered, the male voice choir class, and they weren't happy about competing against traditional choirs. So we thought, well, we'd look and maybe introduce an open class. So it's like an anything goes class. So we have a gospel choir, we have a couple of community choirs, and it also gives the opportunity for some of the choirs in the other classes to have a second sing. So we've got some of the choirs doing a completely different program. So say the ladies in the ladies class may sing a traditional choral set in one class, but in the open class they may sing pop songs, songs from the shows, nursery rhymes. So it really is an anything goes type of class. We have a adjudicator, Tristan Lewis from North Wales, who's coming over for the weekend to adjudicate. He will pick 4 winners, 1 from each class, and then those 4 choirs will then sing on the Sunday morning in the choir of the festival. In the classes, they sing 4 songs each. On the Sunday, they sing a 25-minute concert programme, any music of their choice, and the winner of those 4 choirs competing in the final will be crowned choir of the festival.
I think it's worth saying too that we have some choirs coming back who have been here before, and that's testament to the standard of the festival. If it was no good, they wouldn't come back again. And some of these choirs are really top-class choirs. And Gary mentioned a gospel choir. Gospel choir have been here before. They are actually winners of the BBC Songs of Praise Gospel Choir of the Year. Very high standard. So people coming to the festival, certainly who've been here before, know that the festival is a good festival. It's not just a friendly festival where they all have a good time, eat and drink and sing, but it is a worthwhile festival to come to, and we're very proud of that.
Absolutely. And a lot of work, I dare say, to actually organise these things.
Absolutely, and I have to pay homage here to Gary, because Gary is the mainstay.
Yeah, I think it's comparable to herding cats at times.
But sounds familiar.
But no, the choirs are very good. They tend to give all the information they need on time. They sort out their own accommodation and travel, so that's one less for us. But they're all keen. They all want to go somewhere new to sing, and the Isle of Man seems to be a popular choice.
And we'll hear more about the festival next week.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
Finally, the world's a stage, unless it's a garden. Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice is being performed on the Isle of Man this week, but not at the Gaiety, Erin Arts Centre, Peel Centenary Centre, or any of the other famous art centres on the island, but the Villa Marina Gardens. Co-director of Paradox Theatre Company, Charlie Williams, told me an outdoor performance had always been appealing to them.
We'd been thinking about doing something outdoors from the get-go. When we first got David Dawson involved for the excellent production of Much Ado About Nothing, which we had last year, featuring, of course, yourself, we discussed, different ideas about how we could do things, because it was really a blank slate that we were starting from. And the idea of outdoors had been mooted, and so Alex and I, for this production, said, well, why don't we try it for this one? The last one was successful. We found we have an audience. We found we have, there's actors on the island who are willing to do it and want to do this type of theatre. And so we thought, well, yeah, let's give it a go. So that we kind of went out and went searching, really. And the Villa Marina, it was a fortuitous meeting of the minds when it came to the Villa, because they have started thinking about what they want to be using this space for. They're very much looking, I think, towards using that outdoor space, that wonderful, beautiful gardens that they have for more things, as you would see in the UK and various other locations, for more things like this. And we went to them, and I think they said, well, give us a proposal, and they were happy with what we gave them.
And brings its own unique challenges?
It brings many challenges, yes. It's one of those situations where you just jump with both feet. I think we announced on the Manx Theatre podcast, and we'd said to some other people, we're going to do it outdoors. And then we started looking at the logistics of it, and we're going, oh my goodness, this is going to be a lot of work. And it is a lot more work, because there's so many unknown variables, weather notwithstanding. Just, you've got to get kit there, you've got to get the actors there, you've got to work out where you're going to place things. So it has thrown up a number of challenges, but we've really enjoyed taking on those challenges, and hopefully we've succeeded in doing so.
And any of the actors got experience of actually performing in an outdoor arena like this?
Yes, some of them do, actually. I was surprised by the number. There were some who'd done outdoor performances at school, some who'd done them at university when they've done professional courses in acting, they've done outdoor theatre. Others who had professionally acted outdoors and in the UK for periods of time. And so it's kind of actually pretty much an even split, I think, between those who haven't and those who have. But we've tried to do a number, because it's the Isle of Man. During August, it's quite wet, so you're trying to anticipate when you're going to be doing outdoor rehearsals. But we managed to get a few in, and everyone's grasped the nettle, so to speak, and are doing great.
Now, as we speak, Wednesday evening here on Spotlight, it's the day before opening night. I suppose the wonderful thing is it looks, touch wood, the weather gods, I shouldn't tempt fate, but it looks actually amazingly good, the forecast for the next few days, which must have you mopping your brow thinking, thank God.
Yeah, no, there was my wife came into I was sat on the end of the bed the other day, and my wife came and said, "What are you doing? We need to be leaving the house to go somewhere." I said, "I'm just checking the weather again." She's going, "Stop checking the weather." You do. You are thinking. We had contingencies in place. We knew what we were doing if it was going to rain. It's the Isle of Man. It's early September. We chose early September for a reason, because it is traditionally actually quite nice.
Quite good, yeah.
August is notoriously a washout, and so we thought we're not touching that. And so we thought, well, we'll do early September. And we were saying, we were saying, oh, we think it's going to be good weather. But if it's not, we've got contingencies in place, and we do have. But you do want it to be nice, because that's the best way. If it is nice, it's just the cherry on the top, really. So if the weather does hold, fingers crossed. If it doesn't, I'm coming after you. But if it does hold, then yeah, it'll be wonderful.
And the amazing thing is, nothing to do with the weather, because it went long before, but a lot of the nights have actually sold out of the original allocation of tickets.
The entire run sold out. I think it's the first time I've been involved in production that sold out prior to it actually starting, which was wonderful. And I think that's to do with the venue that we're in. I think people are intrigued by, obviously, to come and see the show and to come and see outdoor theatre, but also where we're doing it. The location is great. And word of mouth, really. I think it started spreading around, that these tickets, that we only had a certain number available because of how we were doing it, and people, they sold out. But we are, as of yesterday now, so whether there's any tickets left, you'll have to have a look. But we have released some more, not many more, but we have released some more to try and get people in who really want to see it, who haven't managed to grab tickets. So.
And is it sort of like, if people might remember going to see Shakespeare at Peel Castle, similar sort of scenario, or will they still be lounging on the ground, bringing their picnics, or is it more sort of seated?
No, it's and that's one of the reasons why you have to factor in the number of people who are going to be there, because we don't have allocated seats. It's not, there's a number of, we're not restricting people to chairs, because we wanted it to be, whilst we're in town, we wanted that freedom of being able to put out a picnic blanket or bring your camper chair or whatever, sit out on the ground and enjoy the show, really, with some food. You can't bring alcohol into the location, but you can purchase on site, so you can have a drink. You can bring picnics in, however, you can bring non-alcoholic drinks in, and the Villa Marina was really on board with that idea as well. So there's not that restriction of, no, you can only eat at these restaurants, and there's only this tie-in. We wanted to do something different, whereby people had the location of the Gaiety Theatre, but an entirely different experience to being sat in an allocated seat. And I think that and for that reason, we're opening, the show is opening, I think the doors are opening about an hour before, so people can get in, kind of get bedded in, relax, enjoy the summer evening before the show starts. And the interval will probably be slightly longer as well, to facilitate people being able to go to the bar, people being able to wander around, and that we were really attracted by that idea, kind of the freedom of outdoor theatre, but in the centre of Douglas.
Absolutely. More tickets have gone out, so people listening to this thinking, wow, I actually wouldn't mind a slice of that. So they might get in, yeah?
They might get in if they're quick. If they haven't already gone, then we've had people. I've never had people pestering me on Facebook Messenger for tickets to a show before, and the various other cast members have been as well. So people are looking. I think there's a few people who maybe, if they can't go, obviously can pass them on or sell them on through various channels, obviously not at a profit, but at cost or lower. But yeah, if there are tickets available, I'd just say be quick, because they went very quickly in the first round. We're not releasing that many more. I think we're increasing the capacity from 120 to 150. So that's it. There's really not that many. So if you want to come, grab them while you can, I think is going to be the position.
I was going to say, get your tickets. You might be lucky. There might be one or two left. Be quick if you want to go. sold out pretty much. Don't forget, if you want to hear anything again this week, go to manxradio.com, download the Spotlight podcast, listen where and when you want. Why not try it whilst cleaning out the cat's litter tray? See you next week, when we'll have a poem from the current Manx Youth Bard, amongst other goodies. Until then, look after yourselves, and whatever you're doing, be creative about it. Cheerio.